What is going on, everybody? Lord Valor here. Wow. I did the thing. My name is Jonah. I'm trying to stop calling myself Lord Valor, but it's like a habit because I've been doing this for so long and I still can't stop.
Do
anyway.
people, like, torture you and just get you not to do it, like a Clockwork Orange type thing?
No. So anyway.
Hi, everyone.
My name is Jonah. Ross, as you can hear, is back. He is the life force of this podcast. No pun intended. It is episode 37, Ross.
I don't know why I made that noise.
Ross, the last time you were on was John Wick for the Boys, which was 7 months ago.
Oh, dear Lord.
So we went and saw John Wick in theaters, and then we had just finished...
The Boys.
Every season of The Boys.
That was April.
Yeah, that's why. March. That was March.
Oh.
We do have a little bit of The Boys content to talk about today.
We do.
We have a little bit. Not
tiny
much.
Bit, a tiny bit.
Not much, but a little
Jonah
bit of
had to go to
something.
bed and we couldn't watch 2 episodes.
It was midnight! What are you on?
You just stay up till 1 a.m.
Yeah, I used to, but my body...
Way back in the day.
Back in the day when I was depressed. We don't talk about it. Anyway.
Oh, I thought it was just because you were getting older. Because, to be fair, I can feel it, too. Like, every time I hit 1 and I'm like, I can't even do anything anymore.
It could be that, too.
I think it's just
I'm maturing. Anyway. Let's get into some news. So that's our small talk. If you couldn't tell from the title today, we're going to be talking about the new Five Nights at Freddy's movie, which...
Yeah.
I don't know if we're gonna have the same opinion or differing opinions on this one.
Well, I'll just put a disclaimer on here. Take Jonah's word for it, not mine. I'll provide some helpful commentary. But Jonah's the real Five Nights at Freddy's fan here. I was just along for the ride. So anything I say about the movie, take Jonah's word over mine.
Well, yeah. When we're talking about lore, I still think there's some things to be said about the way the film.
Okay. Yeah.
The writing, some of the writing was kind of weak, I think, but we'll get there.
Jonah's gonna turn into the lore man.
They call me the lore man because my IQ is the highest amongst Reddit. Yes.
Thank you, Maxwell.
All right, so let's get into some news. There are some new movies coming out.
Oh boy.
In November 17, around Thanksgiving, we've got The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the book was written in 2020?
I don't exactly know. I know the book has been written, but I don't remember when it was written.
Looking it up here.
When written
in 2020. There you go. I nailed it.
Wow, good work, Jonah.
Because my sister got it right. It was reading it during COVID.
Oh, wow.
And
oh Lord, COVID.
Yeah, that was almost 4 years ago already.
Jonah, that hurts.
Yeah.
Back in the day before we knew who each other were.
That's wild.
That is very wild.
But yeah, man. So I'm actually kind of excited for that. I love all of the Hunger Game movies, all four of them. I did hear that this book was kind of meh.
So was Mockingbird.
Plus Susan Collins, that's like the only book series I think she's ever written. And people are just
respect the woman for making bank.
Those. Absolutely. But at some point you have to move on. And I guess she is like 80, isn't she? She's
like
pretty
that.
old.
Maybe
but...
George R.R. Martin should learn something from her. We should watch a Game of Thrones just to see how bad.
Oh my gosh. I've heard the first 7 seasons were great, and then season 8 just
the last one just
shit the bed. that's how someone described it to me. It's like they did so well, and then they shit the bed. I was like, okay.
They just gave up.
Fair enough. Yeah. So I'm excited for that on November 17. We actually missed one. November 10. The Marvels is coming out.
Yay.
My soul cries, I don't give a crap. I will just watch it when it drops on Disney Plus. That's where I'm at. Yeah. It looks like hot garbage.
It doesn't look very good.
But and it's not just because it's all women cast. I don't give a crap about that. It just doesn't look good. I'm sorry. Kamala Khan, the show was not interesting even remotely. I played video games while I watched that show, and at no point was I ever like, oh, what's going on? I need to pause my video game and watch. At no point was I ever doing that. And with other TV shows, I have that, where I pause and I watch, and then I go back to playing my video game. So I'm just saying, there was no point where I became like, oh, what's going on in the plot with the Kamala Khan series. So, big thumbs down there. I'm just not a huge fan of Brie Larson in the role. She can act, but she can't act that.
It's going to be really bad if everyone considers Brie Larson to be the best actor in that movie.
Yeah.
But
So I'm just not excited. I'm going to watch it because I'm too far invested into Marvel at this point to not.
What? It's all cats! It's for those of you who don't understand what we're seeing right now, Jonah is up on firstshowing.net, and we're looking at November 10th, Friday. I hovered over the Marvels, which its poster is just a bunch of cats.
It's just all cats.
Which I'm pretty sure are the Flurgins.
Yeah, the Flugins.
But anyway,
really confusing.
I got a few movies to talk about that I'm kind of excited for.
Yeah.
Next Goal Wins.
I was thinking about this too. This is Taika Waititi, right?
This is Taika Waititi. I think this is... I forget... Hold on, I'm gonna... yeah. Next Goal Wins. Where... yeah. Terrible American Samoa soccer team. For those of you guys who kind of don't understand, I don't know if this is this based on a true story? Oh, they lost 31-0. Dutch American football coach. Okay, yeah. So basically, it's a soccer movie. It's a sports movie, but it looks, from what I saw in the trailers, it looks like a really good feel. It looks like a good feel-good movie. It's gonna be funny. It's a Taika Waititi film, so
Taika Waititi, I respect him, but not in writing Thor. I think he did okay on Thor Ragnarok, but Love and Thunder just kind of went like downhill because it was like 75% jokes. I didn't mind it. It made me laugh, but like I don't know if I want my impression of a Marvel movie to me, wow, I was laughing every like 5 seconds. You know?
Yeah, I get
that's why that's where I'm at with that. Go scroll up a second. Thanksgiving, we saw I'd never heard of it up until this point, but we saw
a preview for it.
And it didn't look that bad. Like I don't know if
it's gonna be interesting. I won't watch it because I don't like horror movies. So
I might, because not in theaters, but like just having a horror Thanksgiving movie, it's just interesting concept.
That is a very interesting concept. I will give them that. It seems pretty new.
Trolls Band Together, also November 17th. All of those, Hunger Games, Next Goal Wins, Thanksgiving, and Trolls Band Together, all November 17th. That's a Friday. I care less about Trolls, I'm going to be honest.
They've made too many of those movies. I don't even... Yeah. All right, but the next one...
I know Ross is going to be so excited for this movie.
This movie... Oh boy, I am ready for it. November 22, Wednesday, or Thanksgiving Day.
Weekend.
Thanksgiving Day. Thanksgiving's always on a Thursday. It's the day before Thanksgiving.
It's the day before Thanksgiving.
Fool.
Thanksgiving Eve.
Thanksgiving Eve. All right, we'll call it Thanksgiving Eve. Is
need to think about that for a second.
Just being weird. Is Napoleon.
Yes.
And for those of you who don't know who,
kind of like Oppenheimer feel, kind of.
Yeah, like Oppenheimer feel, starring Joaquin Phoenix. That's how you say his name, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not Joaquin because it's Joaquin. So anyway, this is gonna cover, I think, his entire life, which is gonna be interesting. But this follows up off of one of my favorite movies of all time, Waterloo, which is a really old movie that was made in the Soviet Union that covers the famous Battle of Waterloo in 1815, where the Duke of Wellington faced off against Napoleon, and that ended the Napoleonic Wars once and for all. I think there's actually a version. The way I watched Waterloo, there's a version out on YouTube. I think it cuts a little bit since it's a super old movie, but it is a massive battle movie. I mean, they literally trained 16,000 extras for the movie. It took an entire Soviet army division just to be extras in the movie. They gave them horses, they gave them cannons, they gave them muskets, they gave them everything. It is so cool. It is one of the most historically accurate movies you will ever see. It is so awesome. You should see it. But anyway, Napoleon, super excited for it. It'll probably cover more than just his battles, but I'm so excited for that too.
Yeah. No, I do kind of want to touch on Oppenheimer because
we're
going to pick our brain before we move on to our main discussion. So we'll pick our brains about that because we saw it during the summer, and my summers are super busy.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't able to make a podcast on it, but I think I'll remember enough to be able to decipher my thoughts on it.
I remember because I loved that movie.
Yeah, it was a good movie. Maybe like 1 minute too many of tits. But yeah,
At first I was like, no, not really. And then I saw what Florence Pugh looks like now, and I'm like, hell yeah, it was way too longer.
Silent Night, December 1. It's a bang 'em up, shoot 'em up a Christmas movie.
That one's gonna
which
be cool
looks
too.
so funny.
We should go to that one.
Like I'm not opposed.
That one looks pretty good too.
It looks funny. I don't know if it's supposed to be funny, but just having a shoot 'em up, bang 'em up Christmas movie just seems really funny to me.
Have you ever watched Hardcore Henry? I haven't either. It's a movie that's kind of just been on my kind of just been on my mental list for a while. Mm-hmm. Apparently, it's like all shot in first person.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's apparently, and I saw a review for it the other day that said it was super interesting. So we should also watch that sometimes too. What's your
Wonka? I'm not December 15. I could care less. I just think Willy Wonka is weird. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Not a huge fan. I don't know. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Meh. Yeah. But not a DC guy. The other one I thought of you when I saw was Ferrari.
Ferrari's gonna be the one. I need to. If I ever go to watch that one, I'm gonna watch Ford versus Ferrari first because Ferrari is. It's gonna be good. Like Adam Driver as Enzo Ferrari, looking at his his whole story is just awesome.
Yeah,
and then, well, actually, I should watch Ford versus Ferrari after that because Ferrari was already established. But if you don't know what a Ferrari is, supercar, way back in the day, they used to be more attuned with racing cars than with sports cars. And you're like, what's the difference? Well, the difference is that, so in Europe, if you ever heard of anything called Formula One, it's their version of NASCAR. And it's like with the Indy cars instead of your average souped-up Chevy. I hate saying that about NASCAR because I do enjoy watching NASCAR sometimes. But, so Ferrari is one of the major teams in there. They always bring an F1 team. It's super huge. So good to look at. We're in 2024 now.
We're now in 2024. Yeah, January 5, Night Swim. The ad for that was super simplistic.
It was.
But it caught me. For some reason, that was the one that stood out to me the most. They didn't use shots from the whole entire movie. They used a whole clip.
That was really cool.
And it was just different, and it stood out. So Night Swim gets a bonus from me for just their choice of how they displayed their film, if you will. Mean Girls musical. I've never seen Mean Girls.
I've never seen Mean Girls either. But...
And someone next to me said, "Oh, they made her black." So I don't know what that means, but apparently someone was white in the original and is now black. I don't know if that's a big deal. I just heard it. Sundance is happening January 18, apparently. Oh yeah, I submitted my film festival there. No, I'm just kidding. And it's been a film live. But maybe someday I'll submit a film to film it. Or Sundance. It's a big deal.
It is a big deal. We're in February now. Argyle. This one looked good
too.
Yeah,
this is the one we saw.
This is the other one we saw. This one, I want to go see that one.
From the makers of
this is John Wick.
Kingsman.
No, Kingsman.
It's kind of the Kingsman group.
Yeah.
And it has kind of the same vibe and style as that. So if you liked those type of movies, you're gonna like Argyle. And like the whole thing, I don't know. The one thing that was like they commonly said is just don't let the cat out of the bag. And so like. There's Argyle, I think, is the cat. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
But it looked pretty interesting.
Yeah.
All things considered. I'm not recognizing any of these other titles.
The Fall Guy.
What? The other one, Dune Part 2. That's it. Oh. March 15. of 2024. So excited.
Do you remember when we watched Dune Part 1?
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
well,
man.
when the start of the movie, it was Dune, and it said Part 1. I was like, oh, there's going to be another. Yeah, excited for that. Super excited. I loved the first one. Loved it. Kung Fu Panda Kung Fu Panda 4, March 8th. I didn't know that was a thing. That's wild.
Wow.
So I'd go see that. But, Dune. There's something I was going to say about that, but...
Dune's gonna be cool. Always.
What? Ghostbusters Afterlife 2?
What? They're making another Ghostbusters?
I didn't think so.
Ooh! Another Godzilla Kong movie! So, April 12th, Friday, so that's like Easter, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Iron Lung, the Markiplier movie.
Oh.
Super excited
When
for
is that coming out?
I'm not sure. It's supposed to be December, but I don't think it.
I didn't see Iron Lung.
I think Deadpool was pushed back to 2025. It was.
Yeah.
Which I was excited for that one too because it was supposed to make him a canon to the universe. Oh, there's gonna be an Inside Out too.
Bad Boys for the Watchers.
A Quiet Place again.
There's another Despicable Me coming out.
That's not surprising. Venom 3. Captain America Brave New World. That's where Sam
Wilson's gonna be.
Sam Wilson, thank you.
You're welcome.
Borderlands is getting
Borderlands?
a movie. The famous.
Wait, what's Shalman's Trap? August 2. Is that like based off of M. Night Shyamalan? Yeah. Oh, that's gonna be funny.
Borderlands. I didn't know that was coming out, but apparently the Borderlands games are getting a movie, so that's cool.
Ooh, they're bringing another Alien movie in?
Yeah, Alien. We need to continue that series as Room because be a lot of fun. That's the first one we watched was really good. Smile 2. Cool. All right, now we're getting into October of next year, so we're way out.
That hurts.
Yeah. So excited for those. Those should be a lot of fun.
Yes.
All right, so let's pick our brains on Oppenheimer. Maybe Barbie. Did you see Barbie?
I never saw Barbie. I still need to see Barbie.
We'll ignore that. Oppenheimer. Did you see Sound of Freedom?
I never saw Sound of Freedom. I was so disappointed on that. I've heard all the good things.
It's very good. So Oppenheimer, Gen V, and then we'll go into our main discussion. So Oppenheimer, Ross, give us a quick, not plot rundown, but just like your overall thoughts, why you liked the movie.
Oppenheimer.
Christopher Nolan. I just feel like I have to point that out. It's Christopher Nolan, and I will literally watch anything he does.
He's awesome.
He's very good.
It's frankly been one of my favorite movies. I love the story of the atomic bomb being made, and that's kind of what this was. Although it was more of an introspection into Robert Oppenheimer's life, which I loved because. So if you've ever read the book called Bomb, it's a nonfiction book. It's young adult. I don't know. I forget who it's written by. It's got if you ever have the hardbook cover, it's a kind of a beige hardbook cover where you can see the nuclear mushroom cloud in the back with the B-29 Superfortress, the bomb, the Enola Gay, specifically the bomber that dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima, actually, because Nagasaki was second. But it was really cool to see some things I didn't know about Robert Oppenheimer's life, because in that book they trim a lot of things down, and they don't necessarily explain what is going on with, or they kind of don't explain the bomb part as much as they do Robert Oppenheimer's, but at the same time, like, you get a good enough understanding of what's happening. Absolutely love the movie. Once we get past Jonah's review, I will explain what I thought the central point of the movie was. And I loved the 3 different timelines. Robert Downey Jr. killed his role as Admiral Strauss. Oh my word. One of the best supporting actor roles I've ever seen. That, there were a bunch of other guys and girls that did really well in there. I just love the movie. Like, it was completely worth the 3 hours that I spent in the theater with you and Ivan.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
It was really good. As Ross mentioned, there were 3 different timelines. There was the atomic timelines or timelines maybe isn't the right word, but it's the word I'm going to use. There was 3 different like plots going on. There was the making of the atomic bomb and the dropping it and the learning the news of that, and then there was the Oppenheimer being reviewed by a bullshit
a sham panel, basically.
Yeah, basically
for security clearance,
which was
then,
the movie really made you actually side with Oppenheimer there, which was kind of interesting.
I will explain why I still don't side with, or why I don't necessarily side with like what some people think they're trying to get out of Oppenheimer after this is done. Third one was Admiral Strauss's was supposed to be his confirmation into the cabinet of the president.
And that didn't happen.
That didn't happen because of whose character was that? It's he plays the Pharaoh dude in Night at the Museum.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
I can't think of his name. But
Rami Malek.
Yeah,
Rami Malek. That dude.
So overall, I will love anything that Christopher Nolan does. It's just a fact of life. So it would be very hard for me not to like this movie, but overall, the cinematography almost like perfect. Nolan,
beautiful.
He leaves no room for mistakes. Nolan wrote this as well, and so the way he weaved the story together was really entertaining. He's just unrivaled in his writing and directing. I think he is the best out there. And I will tout that till my last breath.
You will defend that hill until you die.
Yep, that is one I firmly believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not as knowledgeable about the history of that timeline as Ross, so maybe I was probably a little more lost at times than Ross was because I didn't know all the characters. But like something I didn't really realize is that Oppenheimer and Einstein lived in the same like.
Oh yeah,
I guess I just never like put that together.
No, they did. That's interesting, all right.
Yeah. So just learning, like, I learned bits of history, even if there was like some creative freedoms. Like one of my favorite creative freedoms that were taken in that movie was right after he announced the atomic bomb. He was like, "Yeah, we destroyed Japan," and you could tell even as he was saying it, he wasn't believing a word he was saying. And he kind of like flashbacked or flashed forward or flashed whatever, and he saw corpses and like just the audio work that was done there, the visual effects that were done there.
Awesome scene.
That scene had you gripping your seat for like really no reason because he was not in any immediate threat at all.
No.
But just the
acknowledgement of what he had created and how it could come back to haunt them.
And it was haunting him. It was weighing on him.
Because he and the other people there, I mean, these people that he told it to were even the other people that were there. But he, at that moment, felt like he was the only one who truly understood what he had unleashed.
Yep. Well, I mean, I'm sure others did too, but like,
but still,
he felt
like the rapturous.
It hit him harder because he was the one in charge of creating
the project.
It. So that scene I think was done absolutely perfectly. I can't think of any other way you would do that. But yeah, 3 hours. I think my only complaint with the movie was mathematically, this may not make any sense, but like 2 minutes out of a 3-hour movie, there were tits on the screen. All right, fine. I'm okay with nudity in films, and I think most people are. But when you get in Christian circles like me and Ross are in, it gets a little iffy. But
yes.
I'm okay with it. But I still think you could have cut that to a minute 30. And you wouldn't have lost any bits of the story. And Nolan isn't the type of person to just throw tits on the screen just because. He normally has a very thought-out process to everything he does within a film. He doesn't just throw stuff in there to throw stuff in there. He's very methodical. And he's proven himself to be that. So if he says 2 minutes was necessary, I guess to a certain extent I should jump on that train, but I'm not. That's the only part of the whole movie. I just wasn't there for 2 minutes of tits. But differing opinions on that.
I don't really have a differing opinion on that.
I wanted them on the screen. No.
No. I wanted it.
I want more. I just didn't have a Kleenex. I'm just kidding. Process the joke, Ross.
I processed it. I'm looking at you in judgmental eyes.
No. So, any last thoughts on Oppenheimer?
Well, I was still going to explain my whole thing.
Go for it.
So, as you will have noted, we kind of explained what the three main timelines of the movie are. I will call them timelines because they are at different time periods. So, the main time period that you see, which is Robert Oppenheimer and his kind of story up to building the atomic bomb at the end of World War II, is originally mid to late 1910s or 20s, up until the 1940s. This is about a 20-year journey that he's been going through. And the entire point of this is to set him up as what a lot of people think that they tried to set him up as kind of this pariah. You should be sad for me because I created this weapon of total devastation, and I alone bear the brunt of the sins that will ever be committed by this weapon. The second one, as we pointed out, was Oppenheimer's sham trial for his security clearance for being able to access documents for the United States military and being able to hold office for the United States military. I don't know what that was. I heard a door. And then the third was Admiral Strauss's, who was played by Robert Downey Jr., as I mentioned, his supposed confirmation to the Senate. So as I kind of mentioned with the first timeline, the entire goal of the first timeline is to make you to feel bad for Oppenheimer. Jonah expertly explained the scene in which Oppenheimer is the only one in the room to truly understand the consequences of what is happening. In a way, he's seeing both Japan as it's getting bombed by the first atomic weapon, and in a way, he's seeing a possible future of where nuclear weapons are unleashed on the entirety of the world, where people are just covered, where people are turned to ash, and the only thing that is left is the outline of your body. And for him, it's basically the end of all things. But with the inclusion of the other two storylines, as Jonah coughs, you will see that there is a very different story that Nolan is trying to tell, at least in my opinion. I'm going to start off with the third timeline, which is Admiral Strauss's supposed confirmation to the cabinet. So for those of I don't know who all listens to this, but those of you who do, the cabinet is a bunch of basically ministers that are appointed by the president in order to help him oversee certain areas of the country. So there's there's a cabinet member for agriculture, there's a cabinet member for anything really. But one of the main ones that came up after World War II was the Atomic Energy Commission, and that for a time, which was a council which Robert Oppenheimer was the leader of. He was the end-all, be-all for that council. And it comes abundantly clear that Admiral Strauss did not like that, because of one meeting that they had in 1947, I believe, which is when the Soviets first tested their atomic bomb based on information they got from spies within Los Alamos, where Robert Oppenheimer was making the original atomic bombs. So basically what I'm trying to say is that in this third timeline, Admiral Strauss is trying to get confirmed to the Senate, and there are some things he's trying to conceal. But one of his aides, I forget who that's played by, and Rami Malek, I forget who he plays as well in the movie. He plays, I forget if he plays an army officer or a high-level bureaucrat who But basically, what happens is that Admiral Strauss, his Senate confirmation, he does not get it confirmed, but throughout this, he's unveiling the story to the other guy, not Rami Malek, of how he set up Robert Oppenheimer to fail his national security clearance, which is only a few months prior to the Strauss's cabinet meeting in front of the Senate, in order to fail. Because one of the major things that you have to understand about why the Atomic Energy Commission in that night in 1947 matters so much is that Robert Oppenheimer is the father of the atomic bomb. I will fully support him on that. But when in 1947 that meeting was held where they've realized that the Soviets have their atomic bombs, and suddenly you realize something's coming and we need to prepare ourselves for it. Robert Oppenheimer was opposed to expanding the nuclear war, and specifically with one of his scientists at Los Alamos was creating the hydrogen bomb, which is what we use now, which is more thermonuclear instead of just regular nuclear, which is a little bit different. It's more powerful. It packs more tons of TNT within a smaller package per capita. So, like, obviously, we still have bigger thermobaric nuclear weapon or thermonuclear weapons now than we do ever have had atomic, but they pack more of a punch even within the same size that the atomic bombs would have been. So, that aside, Strauss, who is an admiral, as I've mentioned, he not only sees it as a security risk, but as a way for the atomic energy to be used as kind of a bargaining or a advantage over the Soviet Union. Because at this point, a lot of government officials could see that the United States and the Soviet Union, as the two most powerful nations after World War II, were going to come into sort of some direct conflict. And that crux point in 1947, when the Soviets had their own atomic weapons and tested it, and the U.S. found out about it, is where Robert Oppenheimer's idea of keeping the AEC to himself, in an essence, were thoroughly challenged by Strauss. And so when we get to Robert Oppenheimer's sham trial for his national security clearance, this is where we get to the point that I think Nolan is trying to get at the movie. Throughout all these, Robert Oppenheimer has some really good defenses. There are a lot of people come in and question him. Like, there's a lot of things that happen on Strauss's orders. Strauss is the one who set this up in order so that he wouldn't be able to challenge him when it came time for his cabinet appointeeship or his whatever, the confirmation from the Senate. But what we learn at the end of the second timeline is that not only is that Robert Oppenheimer may be the father of the atomic bomb and wants you to feel sad for him about it, but at the same time, it is almost everything to him. There's a point where they're questioning him, and he gets angry, and he finally spills his piece. I forget what he said, but it was basically something along the lines of, "Oh crap, what was it? I forget what it was, but anyway, it was basically something along the lines of like, I did it because I could." It's like kind of the idea, because he got all the glory, and especially one of the other things that you have to understand is that Admiral Strauss and Robert Oppenheimer were kind of actually friends a little bit. Like they had a good working relationship from what I was able to understand. But in 1946, there was a meeting between the AEC and members of Congress. It was in a big public area, and Strauss wanted to push the proliferation of nuclear weapons, make more of them, become more powerful than our enemies. Oppenheimer wanted to retain control of the AEC and didn't want to proliferate nuclear weapons. So he basically said, "Oh, you can make a nuclear bomb with anything," based on the atomic theory that if you know the history of the atomic bomb, if you send atoms fast enough, they will explode in a nuclear reaction, because that's how it works. The elements they did it with were the most reactive, and therefore that's why they chose them and the best to do it with. So this begins, and so this culminates in 1947 when they have that meeting, and Admiral Strauss is pushing heavily for not only proliferation, but for the advancement of thermonuclear weapons. And Oppenheimer doesn't like that because thermonuclear weapons is not his design. Only the atomic bomb. Yep. And ultimately, because at the same time, he wants you to make you feel sad for him with the amount of destruction he has lost. At the same time, he wants you to revel in his glory at the fact that he is the man that made the bomb that could end the world. And as I kind of mentioned earlier with thermonuclear, that wasn't his invention. That was someone else's. That was someone else who was working with him who got the idea of using it. But he's like, let's not use hydrogen. We don't have to use hydrogen. No, let's not do that. Until they kind of did with Little Boy. Fat Man was the atomic. Little Boy was thermo. Or was hydrogen, I believe. It was a different sort of... No, it was plutonium and uranium. It wasn't hydrogen yet. So they used both. Little Boy was plutonium. Fat Man was uranium. But that's where I'm getting to with the point of this story. I know it seems very rambly, but I think that Nolan is setting up this idea of, yes, you can put Oppenheimer up as the sacrificial pariah who has become death, the destroyer of worlds, as he is famously opposed. But at the same time, he wants you to see Robert Oppenheimer as the man who took the glory from it. You will, if you watch the movie, you will see in that 1946 meeting that I was talking about, you will see that he revels in the attention that he gets. But one of the other funny things is that you can tell that Strauss tries to do his doing away of the AEC for Robert Oppenheimer, because at the time Robert Oppenheimer was in control. He tried to get him away peacefully by getting him a position at Temple University, where he talked to Albert Einstein. It's a pivotal scene where Robert Oppenheimer reveals something to Einstein at the beginning of the movie. We don't understand what it is until the end.
Which was very well done.
Which was
well done.
Beautifully well done. But where Robert Oppenheimer reveals to Einstein that his original prediction about setting the world afire with a chain reaction came true. But just not in the way you think about it. And that, of course, is the whole talk about nuclear proliferation. So, it is an amazing movie. I absolutely love it. There were a few things in that movie that just absolutely sent me to the floor. One was between Robert Oppenheimer and his meeting between Truman, who also gives him a run for his money. Because one of my favorite, there's a true story that, so when Robert Oppenheimer met Truman, Oppenheimer vehemently opposed the proliferation of nuclear arms, just as he did here, as I was kind of explaining it to Truman. And Truman said, you created the bomb. I chose to drop it. In essence saying, stop whining about creating weapons of death and destruction that kill everything. I'm the one who actually has to fire it and make that choice. All you have to do is make it possible.
Yep.
And that was one of my favorite scenes in the movie. I absolutely love that. Once again, there's this whole thing about I said something about Soviet agents in Los Alamos. They didn't necessarily, I think they almost referenced that, but there was one of the things that during the 1930s is that Robert Oppenheimer is teaching at a university, and he has a friend, a fellow professor who's part of one of the communist parties of the United States. And
that chick that he was dating was
Florence Pugh's character.
Yeah, she was also kind of a commie.
She was a communist.
And that was putting him under suspect as well.
Yeah, so that was part of the whole sham trial thing too, which did not help Robert Oppenheimer at all. But yeah, honestly, one of his friends was a communist and and knew he was doing something with atomic research and said, hey, could send that information over to the Soviet Union, which he opposed because he's like, I don't need it getting out of hand, stuff like that. But there is actual confirmed cases of actual Soviet agents in the United States at Los Alamos gaining access to the research and basically say, here, it's mine now. We're going to send it to the Soviets, and that's what made the Soviets available to do the atomic bomb. So yeah, watch Oppenheimer. It is amazing. It is worth the 3 hours. Besides the 2 minutes of titties. Unless you like that sort of thing.
Then just go watch porn at that point. No, excellent. Ross isn't a history major, but he almost should be.
I've remarked to Andrew a few times that I really should have just made my major
Would've
double major between history and political science. I feel like I would have enjoyed that.
Yeah, you would
more.
have enjoyed it a lot more. Anyway, the other thing, this will probably be a lot quicker than Oppenheimer, but Gen V, we watched the first episode, and right after this, we're gonna watch another episode.
Yeah.
It's in the same realm and same universe as The Boys. There've already been some cameos from some of the Boys characters. So excited for that. Excited to continue that. I don't think every episode is out. I don't know how that works. I don't know how Amazon's releasing it. But we watched the first episode, spoiler free. Thoughts so far, it's very violent. Just like The Boys. I made the call first 5 minutes, first 5 seconds, which maybe a little, it wasn't 5 seconds, but like first 5 minutes of the film, even before the intro song or whatever plays, there was going to be like a really violent scene, and guess who was right. So yeah, that basically the plot is in season, so spoilers for The Boys if you ever want to watch it, but like they basically found out that Compound V was they figured out that it was humans sticking that inside of you, and it wasn't something like you were born with. It was something, a choice the parents made to give you when you were a baby. And so Gen V is the first generation of people who know that their superpowers are not natural, and it was something the parents did. So that's the premise for it is that they're the generation that knows. So I don't really know where the plot is going. I don't know if it's going to have any implications for The Boys. I hope we get hints, but like I know The Boys has been set back because of the writer's strike, and now there's an actor's strike in Hollywood.
How many strikes are there? Jesus Christ, I better be running a bowling alley. I just floored Jonah with a joke. What's next? Set worker strike? Jesus.
An editor strike,
Unpaid
probably.
intern strike.
I would love an unpaid internship in Hollywood. That'd be great.
That would suck.
That would suck.
You get murdered and with no money.
No, an editor strike's probably next, to be honest. But no, so far so good. I'm excited to watch more. The first episode was enticing.
It was really good. I enjoyed it.
There was a penis.
What's The Boys? What'd you expect?
There was.
I can do whatever I want.
Yep. So it's a The Boys show.
I should release that video online.
No, you should not. You should not release that video online.
That was so funny.
So yeah. Ross, do you have anything else to add? My overall thoughts so far are excellent, but I'm one episode in, so we'll see if the writing sticks, because I know the writing for The Boys is some of the best I've ever seen. So I hope the writing for this is still as good.
I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. It's college superheroes. What can go wrong?
Just about as much as real life, like grown-ups doing it. So
can't wait for you to find all the fun stuff in the trash and all the kids having sex, and it's already happening. It
was so weird. Anyway, let's talk about what we're here to talk about, is Five Nights at Freddy's. Now I gotta completely shift gears because The Boys and Oppenheimer are two completely different vibes, but
they all have murder in them.
It's true. Overall, Ross, PG-13 rating, written by Scott Cawthon. Is that how you say his name? I don't know, but I love him to death. I should know how to say his name at this point, but I love him. Scott Cawthon. He recently retired from video game making, and he's slowly like handing off the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise over to a different person to kind of lead, and he's going to take more of a backseat role to spend time with his family from my knowledge, and he's announced that in like 2020.
Good for him.
But he was like the head writer of the screenplay, and he had a couple other helpers as well. But I like him a lot. It has probably a lot for me to do with the fact that he's a Christian, and that he's making media that isn't explicitly Christian. Yet one could argue that some of the themes that appear in Five Nights at Freddy's kind of come from his Christian background.
Jesus is not redeeming William Afton.
No, basically not. No, but yeah, that rant's over. I just had to get that out there because I knew going into this movie. Obviously, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie here is based on all of the video games, not all of the video games, but based on the video games franchise Five Nights at Freddy's. So I knew going in I was gonna love it because I've been head over heels for this game since high school. I would like secretly watch the Markiplier play the game on Sunday afternoons, and I don't want people to see what I was watching because Five Nights at Freddy's is a little creepy, a little weird.
Yeah.
So I've been invested in this since high school, and when they wrote this movie, they gave it a PG-13 rating, and there was no way it was going to go to R because it is a younger audience that does like Five Nights at Freddy's. Like, I'm not alone in the fact that I'm sure if you go to high schools, you'll be, oh yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's, oh yeah. So it's a very well-known franchise, and reviews right now are kind of mixed because originally lost my train of thought. The reviews are mixed because people who professional like film critics are not liking it, wonder why they don't have the game to tie it all together for them, but which you shouldn't need. Let me correct this: you shouldn't need, and you don't need, but it only like enhances the experience if you understand Five Nights at Freddy lore. And the people who are going to see the movie, I think it had an 86% rating on Rotten Tomatoes last I checked. The audience is loving it, and this isn't like a difference between like, oh, the critics are just out of touch. I think the critics just don't have the games to like back up their love for the franchise, so they don't have as much they don't have as much of a connection. But you shouldn't need that. So I'll get into my gripes with the movie, but I did love the movie overall. Ross, I think you did too, but you didn't have like the lore of the games.
I am not the lore man.
You didn't have the lore to help you out. So give us your thoughts here.
I thought it was fine. It wasn't. It's not. I don't need to watch it again, but it was a good movie. I understood the plot really well. Like, I didn't like. From a lore perspective, I had no idea what was going on. All I knew is that there was a mechanical bear and friends, and they liked to murder people, and they kind of did. Kind of didn't. I thought they were going to be more mean to the night guard. Mike, I think was his name, correct?
Yeah.
I thought they were going to be a lot meaner to him. They were just kind of like, oh, you're there. Kind of the whole subplot with his brother ending up being one of the murdered children is kind of cool, weird.
Well, you never actually. That's actually something why I think I have several reasons why I think there's going to be a Five Nights at Freddy's 2. We'll get into that a little later because that gets into major spoilers. So from here on out, spoilers, absolutely. So we actually never figure out what happened to Mike's brother. We never figured that out. So my guess is a second movie would kind of go over that. But basic plot analysis: Mike is his bad security guard. He needs to find a job because in the first 10 minutes of the movie he beats a guy up who ended up being the father. He thought some kid was getting kidnapped and he wasn't, and so he gets fired from that job. And so he goes into this I don't know, where did he even go that he met the character that we later learn is William Afton.
He went to not a recruiter's office. What's it called?
I don't know what it's officially called.
I don't remember what it's officially called, but he basically goes there and it's like you get called a number and they kind of look at jobs for you. But for some odd reason, he gets to Can we say spoilers?
Yes, I
So for some odd reason So for some odd reason, William Afton is one of these guys, and he's just like, "Oh yeah, I have a job for you. It's a night gig at this old rundown place. Like it's like he's luring people there to kill them."
He is. He's a psychotic guy, and I think I leaned to you. You were sitting next to me in the movie, and I leaned to you, and I'm like, "That guy's William Afton. There's no way he's not."
You did say that.
There's no way he's not. He's William Afton.
He was so like.
He delivered his lines really well.
He delivered his lines really well. The one thing that I didn't know if he was like, the only thing I knew about William Afton was his name. I didn't really know, like I said, I don't know the lore. But one thing that tipped me off that we would see the guy again was when he noticed Mike's last name.
Yep, and he paused, and that's when I knew, bam.
Oh.
That's when I knew it was William Afton.
Like, oh, hey, it's just, what's his name? He played Shaggy. Matthew Lillard. Yeah, Matthew Lillard. Like, oh, it's just Matthew Lillard. Sweet cameo. Awesome. And then he paused, and I'm like, oh, that was something important.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah. So, here's basic FNAF lore for you. So, over the first, 3 games, you learn that there's this guy by the name of William Afton, and there's one other guy who didn't make an appearance in this movie. I'm not sure, I can't remember his name off the top of my head because I have a lot of information just jumbled in it right now. But William Afton and this one other guy created Five Nights at Freddy's. It was really popular in the 80s. It's kind of like Chuck E. Cheese. But the store closed eventually because 5 or 6 kids went missing, and the police were never able to find their bodies, so they just shut it all down. And spoiler alert, you later learn that William Afton killed those children and then shoved their bodies inside the animatronics because the police would never look inside the animatronics for those bodies. So basically, William Afton is just this really psychotic serial killer. And as it turns out, the spirits of these children started to possess the animatronics. So we would learn later every night that Freddy, Foxy, all the rest, the whole gang is basically these children are possess these animatronics. Yes, absolutely.
How in the world did he fit a kid into that tiny cupcake?
There's actually no. I don't think there's anybody that controls. I don't think there's a children inside that cupcake. I don't think there's any soul that possesses that cupcake.
There has to be.
There's not.
Who did the 5th child?
Don't think about it too hard.
What do you mean don't think about it too
hard? There is some lore explanation for that. I don't have that on me on the top of my head. But no, he didn't shove anybody inside the cupcake, to answer your question. So basically there's the children possess these animatronics now, and it's weird, yes, but Afton realizes this. William Afton realizes that these ghosts of the children he's killed have possessed these. Now I'm getting to the movie lore. So he learns that these kids have possessed his animatronics, and so he feeds them the story, a fake story that he didn't kill them, that they were just killed, and that he's there to help avenge them or something. And so he's that's described through pictures on the wall, which becomes important at the end of the film. And so, what is Mike's sister's name, Ross? It's escaping me. Abby, thank you. So Abby is really good at drawing pictures, and I knew instantly that she was going to play an important role in the end of the film, and she did. So back to FNAF lore. William Afton never is caught by the police, but eventually he gets caught in his Bonnie suit. Is it Bonnie?
I don't know.
The bunny. The golden bunny. Bonnie, it's not Bonnie. But he gets caught in that suit, and he gets shoved in a closet. And he sits there and twitches there for 30 years, according to game lore, and then he just kind of comes back. So every time you see that bunny, that golden bunny, which name is escaping me, it should not. But every time you see that bunny, it's William Afton inside that, inside there. So
dude was hella strong in that thing too.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, you've got mechanical whirs helping you. Yeah, so excellent, excellent. There. So Ross, what was most enticing to you about the movie? Like, what kept you watching?
What kept me watching? That's a good question. Mostly just the fact that I can't fall asleep to movies. Part of me really wanted to question what the hell Mike was doing with his life, that he couldn't get like a factory job or anything like that, because they pay more, have better hours, and they don't follow you with murderous robots. So there's that. So I was also kind of interested to see the ending. But one of the main things I do know a few things about Five Nights at Freddy's, but I do know that generally when you played in the game, they try to murder you every night, and they didn't do it that time. The first night, they just kind of let him sleep. The second night, they gave him a little cut on his hand to make sure he bleeds. Third night, he brings his daughter, and they make friends, and he is weirded the fuck out.
Dude, okay, so that threw me off so hard. Like, all of a sudden, Abby and Mike and Vanessa are just playing with the robots, and that was just, like, so weird. And someone pointed this out. I can't take credit for this. But someone pointed out that the fact that the reason the Five Nights at Freddy got so popular in the first place was the jump scares. And there were, like, 1, maybe 2 jump scares in the whole film. So it could be argued that jump scares could have been even more prevalent in this movie, and they could have gotten away with it, but they didn't. So I don't take that as you will, but yeah, that third night where Abby and them are just playing with the robots threw me off so hard. Which brings me to my next point of the writing of Vanessa. We later learn that she is Vanessa Afton. That's not I'm not gonna say accurate, but that's not the same as the games. In the games, Vanessa is a night security guard that just gets run crazy by the animatronics, and she herself becomes an animatronic basically. She puts on a suit, and it just drives her crazy. But in these movies, which there is still room for that, if there's a second movie, there's still room for that to happen. But it didn't happen in this movie. But basically, she's the daughter of Afton, and we learned that Afton murdered her brother, ? Who was Golden Freddy. Golden Freddy is William Afton's son. So that's interesting. And that's not exactly accurate, but I'll let it slide because Cawthorn kind of had troubles getting the lore of Five Nights at Freddy's up and going in the first place, because when he made the first 2 games, he didn't have lore in mind, but then he realized it was catching fire and that he had to have lore, so it got convoluted really quickly. So he wanted to do his best to make it simpler in the movies, and I think he did a pretty good job of that. But the writing on Vanessa, to go back to my main point, was kind of weak. She was the only character I was like, wow, that was a interesting choice.
At least she was hot.
Amen. But that third night when they were playing with Freddy, she was like, "Hi ho, yeah, let's play with the animatronics and let's have a good old time." And she knew the plan that those kids, the animatronics, wanted to murder Abby. She knew that full well. There's no way she didn't, and she was all hi-ho about it. But then all of a sudden, Mike and her go into the closet to go get towels or something to put over their fort that they made, and all of a sudden, after Abby gets electrocuted, basically, all of a sudden, Vanessa just turns on him in a 180, and it made no sense. She was just like, "If you bring Abby back here, I'm gonna shoot you." She should have been saying that from the get-go of him bringing Abby there. She should have said, that's the first thing she should have said when she saw that Abby was there. She should have said, "Mike, get her the hell out." Because she knew full well that William Afton, her father, and those animatronics and the kids inside of those electronics wanted to murder Abby and make them like them. She knew that full well. But all of a sudden it was a 180 flip on you don't bring Abby back here. So that was like strange to me because she knew full well from the beginning. So that was the one thing on the writing thing that rubbed me the wrong way. And they had to get there with Vanessa. They had to get there. But that was the wrong way to do it because it made no sense whatsoever. That was really my only gripe. I knew going into this movie that I was going to love it because I'm huge on Five Nights at Freddy's. Sure, call me a nerd, but I've fallen in love ever since playing Dark Souls and Little Nightmares. I've just loved convoluted, complicated lore, and I just love deep diving into like videos on what's going on. So, I don't know. It's kind of like a niche thing that I really, really enjoy. So that was my only writing thing that I think was an issue. I think the most interesting part of the movie was Mike's whole like subplot of like dreaming to try to figure out who kidnapped his son. And I think it's pretty obvious from the film that William Afton kidnapped his brother, pardon my French, his brother, and he's in an animatronic somewhere there. I am fairly certain that an animatronic killed, I don't remember the name of his brother, Greg?
No, I thought it was Garrett.
Garrett? I knew it was a G.
Gregory.
Gregory. No, I knew, so and we never learn what happened to him, so that opens up the door for a second movie, so... I need to stop jumping ahead.
Can we just say that actor who played Mike is like discount Pedro Pascal?
That was Josh Hutcherson.
He looked like discount Pedro Pascal.
You know who Josh Hutcherson is, right?
Not really.
The guy who Hunger Games.
I've never seen
PETA. From
is
Hunger
that who
Games?
that was?
Yes.
Oh,
Ross is learning new things.
I've
today.
never actually seen the Hunger Games movies.
Okay, well we need to watch them then.
We're not watching them. I don't like the Hunger Games. All right, it's not a bad book. I just don't. I thought that and Catching Fire was okay, and then I read Mockingjay, and it made me want to die.
Yeah, because there's stuff militarily wrong with it. Anyway,
yeah.
Moving on.
No.
Did you like the climax of the movie, Ross? I'm gonna ask.
I was okay with it, like, or they, because that was where they kidnapped Abby, and they're like, okay, yeah, we're gonna kill her and put her in a machine.
I think that machine was, not Balloony. Dang it, I shouldn't have said anything.
Balloony.
Good doofus for sure. But I'm pretty sure they were trying to put. I can't remember the name of the animatronic, but it's in the games prevalent, and the animatronic they were trying to put her in was the one that I'm pretty sure was William Afton's son or daughter, or was the other guy's son or daughter, and that's where that soul is. But it could totally be different for the movies. But
I would like to see that entire scene where Mike goes around saving Abby, set to "I Need a Hero" by Bonnie Tyler. Like it was
I
like
need a hero.
No, like it was a good scene. It's just like I would feel so much better if there was like a musical accompaniment with this. Like,
yeah,
it's like it would really lighten up the mood for me. Granted, it wasn't supposed to be a light movie.
Did you? Well, it's not supposed to be heavy because it's PG-13, but it's not supposed to be light. Did you like the animatronics? I loved the animatronics.
They were
I think they nailed the animatronics.
I think
really
they nailed
good.
the animatronics too. Like, honestly, like they did a really good job with those.
Yeah. Overall, if you're not interested,
like the Foxy, the Foxy was his name. I think the guy with the pirate hook.
Yeah, that's Foxy.
He could sing.
Oh yeah.
He was like.
Anyway. You knew it was gonna happen, guys. You knew one of us was gonna break into the. You just knew it was gonna happen.
It's been happening
dude,
all the time in our apartment.
it's so funny.
Nathan or Clay or
Someone will do it.
someone will do it.
I think overall, my analysis is if you're not into Five Nights at Freddy's, you're not gonna like it. But if you are into Five Nights at Freddy's, you're gonna dig this a lot.
The only reason I really understood this because I've actually seen either Nathan said at Five Nights at Freddy's stuff playing out there, or you've done it, and it's just kind of like, oh, that's interesting. So I was like, it's not bad.
There were two really fun cameos. Matt Pat he has made 10 years worth of lore videos.
He is the lore man.
He is the lore man. So he's made 10 years worth of videos. So he got a cameo. Markiplier was supposed to play the security guard in the beginning.
Why did he not?
He had scheduling conflicts because of Iron Lung he was making. So I hope they make a second movie so he can be in it. I never told about Matt's. I think the most interesting storyline was Mike's whole wanting to dream so we could see who kidnapped his brother. That was the most interesting plot line, and I think that was the perfect catalyst of motivation for him to go back and all that stuff. And there is the only other thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way is the whole plot with the aunt that wants...
Yeah, that was just kind of weird.
I mean, it was necessary because it was the motivation for Mike to get a job in the first place. But,
it was just weird.
She was obviously rich, and she didn't need the payments of the daughter of Mike's sister to get more rich. I don't know. Greed is a weird thing where people will do weird things for an extra buck. But, she was just at one point she was like, should I just kill him? Should I just slice his throat? Should I just, what?
Yeah, you also kind of feel bad that girl that was trying to befriend Mike was just kind of a plant by his aunt to...
Yeah, that was a cool plot twist. I didn't mind. It was cool. But, man, overall, if you're a FNAF fan, go and see it. And I want to end by just my speculation on why I think there is going to be at least 2 movies, if not 3. The first thing is we never learn what happened to Mike's brother. And at the end of the movie, during the credits, when it's rolling at the end of the credits, there's a creepy voice that spells out, "Find me." So I'm fairly certain that is Mike's brother. This movie takes place in the 2000s. And if we're going to be lore accurate, the second movie would probably take place around now, 2020, 2030, 2023, 2030 probably, because William Afton has to sit in the closet for about 30 years and rot and bleed, if we're going by the video game kind of knowledge of what's going on. So the next movie, if it takes place, probably going to take place around now, because this movie took place in the 2000s. So we never found out what happened to Greg. That's my number one reason why we might get a second movie. That's their intro and how they're going to make a second movie if they do. My second hint was the guy who played Matthew Lillard. Matthew Lillard. He signed a 3-movie contract with Blumhouse. Blumhouse. Doesn't always mean anything. A lot of times that's a way for companies to be like, hey, if this does take off, we want more movies with you, so sign this 3-movie contract. So sometimes it doesn't always mean that there's going to be another movie, but it's a strong indication that the people involved do want to make more movies. And when Matthew Lillard signed his contract, it was a 3-movie contract. So most likely we will be getting a 2. And my next reasoning is because audiences are loving it. Critics don't have to love a movie in order for them to make another. I'm trying to think of an example of it, but there's so many examples of just audiences loving it, but critics hating it, but it still gets another movie. There's so many examples of that. So I don't think a second movie is off the table. It's actually highly likely, I think, that we get another movie because the lore is loved so much. Five Nights at Freddy's is loved so much, and it's an easy way for the production companies to just make more money. Like, let's be honest, they will make money if they make another one.
Yeah.
So my hope is that they give Vanessa a better character arc in the second one. We find out what happens to Mike's brother.
And Abby isn't a part of it.
And Abby, my guess would be Abby's grown up.
Oh.
That would be my guess. And I just thought of that now because we almost have to take the place. The movie almost has to take place 30 years later. It just almost has to.
You know what one of the main things I got out of that movie, though?
What?
That I should always be armed. It reinforced my fear of not going to Chuck E. Cheese, and if I do go to a Chuck E. Cheese, I'm going to be armed more than the U.S. when we invaded Iraq.
Yeah,
Operation motherfucking Enduring Freedom to that Chuck E. Cheese on the corner street.
Honestly, go see it if you're a FNAF fan. Otherwise, there's not really much that's going to entice you.
For me, it was a good sort of creepy.
Yeah.
It was a good sort of creepy. Like, I wasn't, like, there were no jump scares, but it was just kind of like, man, and this is kind of twisted.
They showed some gore, considering it was PG-13. Like, you saw, like, the claws bury into William Afton's, like, chest, which is wacky. Like, they showed some gore, which is absolutely necessary. Otherwise, it would have been too cartoony. But, man, they made that gruesome.
I liked how when he got in with his yellow bunny suit or whatever, he was terrifying.
Oh, he was a tank. He could just, like, whoom. He packed a punch. His performance overall was pretty good.
There you go, Matthew Lillard.
You just keep doing you. So, yeah, I think that's everything. If you don't have anything else to say on that, Ross.
No.
All right.
I don't.
Thank you guys so much for listening. If you would like more episodes of Lifecast, you can check out the full playlist, which can be found under the podcast tab of our channel.
So this is Lifecast podcast?
Yes. That's the
Lifecast podcast.
That's the whole bit, Ross.
That's the whole...
You can also find...
What else is the whole bit?
What?
The boys.
Yes, I cannot wait to watch more of that after this. You can also find a link to our Instagram down in the description. Be sure to give that a follow.
Our Instagram.
And if you are interested in film,
you're
gonna be copyright strike, bro.
Okay, I don't know the words after that.
And if film is an interest of yours, be sure to check out my other channel, New Pluto Productions,
films I'm interested
where my
in,
films...
pornographic ones.
I can't even do a fucking outro with you.
I know, it's so fun to interject.
I'm going to start that over, and I'm not even going to cut it. And if film is an interest of yours, be sure to check out my other channel, Pluto Productions, where my friends and I create short films.
Did you know that Pluto was declassified as a planet by the world?
The most recent short film we made, and I think it's public, is The Assassin, Spider-Man Who Travels Back in Time.
That one was actually really good. I enjoyed that one.
That was a lot of fun. Me and Ivan have been doing a lot of writing recently. Not a lot of shooting, because I've been doing a lot of other stuff, but I'm hoping next
Jonah's
semester...
been a busy, busy boy.
With the new year, I'm hoping we can get some new content up there. So you can check out New Pluto Productions on YouTube and Instagram, or we have our website, which is...
Or through the binoculars through the window.
All linked down in the description below. Ross, thank you, of course, for joining me.
Oh, you are welcome.
You are the most... you've been here on this podcast the most, I think.
Yeah. Wait, where's the bottle of champagne I need to pop to break the record?
When you
break good times.
All right, here's the deal. I don't think you've broken 10 yet. So when you break 10...
When I break 10, all right, we just got to do more.
We'll open a bottle of champagne, which you're really close. You can't be more than like 1 or 2 off.
Yes.
So, and maybe this was 10, and maybe after this we have to go pop a champagne. But
sometime we just need to do this in like my garage. We just pop a bottle of champagne and get a little...
I can't wait till I'm out of college and We can do a siege bit video where it's like every time Jonah gets a kill, you take a shot.
No, every time Jonah dies, you take a shot.
That would be worse. Or just a sip of beer or something and see just how wasted we get by the end of the night.
Shots.
No,
shots. Everybody. No.
I'm thirsty. All right, when life gives you lemons, go to Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh, shit.